Hello there, Jim Dramatic here, and it's been, let's see, 10 billion years since I last uploaded. Therefore, I feel it appropriate to do a top 10 list, and, as you clearly read, I'm counting down the top 10 KOs in Robot Wars. But I'm not alone on this venture, as I'm joined by the one and only Anderson9132.
Hello, it's me, the Robot Wars Guru. Quick question, Jim. Why am I trapped in your basement again?
Do you want to spend another month in there?
Fine, I'll help you with this top 10, but I want to see my family afterwards.
That I can't guarantee. Anyway, possible kidnapping charges aside, we should establish the only rules here.
No KOs via UTA, house robot interference, pittings, and self-KOs, since those could constitute to top 10s in the future. Apart from that, any KO is fair game.
Without further ado, here are the top 10 KOs in Robot Wars.
Number 10, Firestorm vs Crasher Nasher. Now, Firestorm is known for its great driving and superb flipping capability, but none of that really mattered in its first ever fight against Crasher Nasher. You would think an opponent with a ground clearance large enough to fit an elephant under would be a prime target for them to get their flipper going on, but no, they just rammed into it and that was enough to secure the KO. The funniest part of the whole thing is Crasher Nasher's face as it falls, as if even the robot itself is questioning its builder's design choices. A KO that didn't even require a single flip from one of the most famous flippers in Robot Wars history definitely deserves a spot on this list.
Number 9, Spawn of Scutter vs Banshee. All of Anderson's feelings on Banshee aside, this KO is one I would consider relatively forgotten despite how hilarious it was. A much improved Scutter machine with a fast spike on the front made it by far my favourite version of this bot. On the other hand, you have Banshee, a bot with mediocre weaponry. When Scutter's spike launched Banshee into orbit was funny enough, but the fact that it proceeded to wobble uncontrollably and fall over, breaking its head in the process, was way too silly to overlook. Plus, Shunt got a hit in for good measure. Banshee may not be the most memorable robot out there, but it did provide some good comedy along the way when it was KO'd.
Number 8, Hypnodisc vs Bulldog Breed, Series 5. We couldn't forget a Hypnodisc KO on this list, that would be insane, and I know what you're all thinking. Why aren't its victories over Splinter or Robogeddon on here? Well, those would have been too obvious and we like to have a bit of fun with these top 10s. However, this KO is on the list because of its precision. They weren't simply ripped apart or strewn all across the arena. They first buckled their flipper, and then they took out their removable link in one clean hit. You've got to give props to the Hypnodisc boys, they can be precise when they need to be, and that KO was much more impressive than one simply filled with destruction.
Number 7, Terahertz vs Smitty. Let's face it, Terahertz's greatest run was during Series 6 and Extreme 2's Challenge Belt. Along the way, they had to face Smitty, a reliable and well-made robot that always tries to deliver a fun fight. This was not their day, however, as Terahertz didn't give him an inch and hacked the poor bot constantly until it was barely working on one side. And honestly, I feel really sorry for the team, as the machine was beaten up within an inch of its life in less than a minute. Terahertz did get to show off what it could do, and made it more disappointing that it was the only time period in which it really got to display its power, in my opinion. This terrifying display is what gives it the number 7 spot here today.
Number 6, Reactor 2 vs Gemini. On the one hand, you have quite an impressive duo in Gemini, the first clusterbot in Robot Wars history, which had showed a lot of promise in Series 4. On the other hand, Reactor 2 didn't really have much robotic pedigree, as it sort of existed in Series 4 and beat Bile out of hell in the previous round. So not a huge victory there then. Gemini was fresh off of their win against Rough Dougal, but their next battle would be their last in the main series. The fact that Reactor 2 managed to whittle down their defences and slowly beach one of the twins onto their back is one thing, but for the other one to do the same to itself was pure comedy. No one predicted this outcome, but despite Gemini's best efforts, they were gradually KO'd by Reactor 2 in superb fashion.
Number 5, Fluffy vs 259. Fluffy was always a bot that could be destructive, but often enough would suffer from mechanical gremlins that hampered its potential. 259 was Adam Clark's most acclaimed robot, and despite an early exit from Series 6, was deemed a worthy opponent for Fluffy during the UK vs Germany special. It was your classic horizontal versus vertical scenario, and unfortunately for 259, it would be its final appearance in the series. After pensively sizing one another up, Fluffy proceeded to dismantle 259's wheels, skirts, drive belts, and finish them off with the biggest hit, resulting in 259 slamming onto the ground a defeated mess. This was one of Fluffy's best moments by far, and totally deserving a place this high on our list.
Number 4, Aftershock vs Sabretooth.
Stop! He's already dead!
Yeah, that was appropriate. With the Aftershock boys returning with a powerful vertical disc and Sabretooth finally making it out of the first round, the two robots who were once allies in their rumble now had to face one another. Despite Gabe's best efforts, Aftershock brutally dismantled his robot right before his very eyes. This destruction was the first time we had felt bad for robots since Splinter in Series 4, and those extra safety hits made the situation all the more bloody. I think the footage speaks for itself really. Just don't mess with Aftershock is the lesson learned here.
Number 3. Traction versus Apex. Now this might be a stretch for our rules since we didn't say self-KOs. However, look, Apex did touch Traction's wedge. Contact was made, so it counts. Shut up. By far the most destruction caused to the arena ever, Apex spinning out of control after a small tap from their opponent's wedge is both scary and spectacular to witness. It was also an emotional moment for Craig Danby in particular, whose robot Foxic failed to qualify for Series 10 and, having joined his brother's team, was his last chance to make an impact in Robot Wars. While not necessarily for the right reasons, Apex certainly caused a reaction. Also, Traction was there. Woo.
Number 2. Dominator 2 versus Henry 2. I know, we said we don't want to be too predictable with this list, but come on! You've really got to feel bad for the Henry 2 team. They entered a subpar robot into Series 3 that both constantly got stuck on the floor and controversially beat Hardvark, and then came back in Series 4 with an improved lifter that looked vastly more competent. Sadly though, Dominator 2's improvements were also present and they KO'd Henry 2 with one single axe blow to the top of the machine. 101 didn't even really get to fight, since the battle was already determined 2 seconds in. Whilst anticlimactic, it was certainly an impressive KO and had insane precision. However, it wasn't quite the most precise KO. No, that honour goes to...
Number 1. Pussycat versus Hypno Disc. Let's be honest, no one predicted Pussycat would win this fight. Like at all. David Gribble was a fantastic driver and all, but Hypno Disc had been constantly KOing bots left and right and seemed to be on track to have its rematch against Chaos 2. But David proved us all wrong by sniping Hypno Disc's wheel within the first second of the match, which resulted in its steering being completely ruined. After some small movement, they then proceed to be axed by Shunt straight in the disc, causing the robotic equivalent of screaming in pain. The fact that Pussycat defied the odds, sniped a key part of its opponent, and all the while suffering 0 damage, is a testament to David Gribble's skills as a driver. He had scored some great hits in Series 4, but this was his magnum opus, his greatest achievement, and while he'll forever be missed in the robot combat scene. If that's not deserving of his number 1 spot, then nothing is. And that was the top 10 KOs in Robot Wars. If there's anything you think we should have put on the list, then feel free to comment down below. Also, a massive thank you to Anderson9132 for both co-hosting this top 10 and helping with the collaboration of this list entirely. Definitely check out his channel for even more ranty robotic goodness.
Thank you too, Jim. Now, about seeing my family?
You'll leave when I tell you to. See you later, folks.
I'm never working with you again.